Hello guys, Zane here today. I'm going to be reading and showing you some things I've been doing. So over the past week, I've been collecting PDFs from mainly universities. So this one's from the Psychology, New York University. I think that's what it says. So I've been taking PDFs from the university and on politics, my favorite subject, and I've been annotating them and annotating stuff I find interesting. Of course, this will be in the comments below. If you want to read it yourself, read the whole thing. I'm not sure if this is like the full book. It seems pretty short to be the full book, or if it's just like parts of it. But this is basically talking about if liberals and conservatives have the same amount of bias. I did redo this, and I don't want to reread everything I just read, even though it is important. I'm gonna go to more of like the stuff I've liked. So like I'm gonna skip like what it's about and like liberal bias, as several authors claim to be. So basically, people are saying that a lot of authors claim that um people have more of a liberal bias, and we're trying to see if that's true. Like they say the education system has liberal bias because statistically the more educated you are, the more liberal you are. And so conservatives think that the education system is training people to be liberal and that we actually don't have a free choice to choose what political party we are. I don't really know what conservatives think, to be honest. So, right wing extremism in Europe and the United States, movements that resulted in World War II and McCarthyism, is the practice of making accusations of subversion or treason without proper guard for evidence. I'm reading what McCarthyism is. I think I'm not saying it incorrectly. Respectively, social scientists were in apparent agreement that authoritarianism, cognitive rigidity, dogmatism, intolerance, prejudice, and other forms of irrationalism were more prevalent in Western democratic systems, at least on the political right, than on the left. Okay. We just go in, just reading some of the highlighted stuff. Appear to unreal, at least in circles that are sympathetic to the notion that social scientists are biased in favor of liberalism and against conservatism. Nowadays, we read that liberals are every bit as are every every bit as authoritarian as conservatives. That's a claim. It's saying nowadays we read that liberals can be just as bad as conservatives. I mean, yes, but that doesn't mean we are. To us, it seems ironic and more than a little bewildering that social psychologists are drifting into the relativistic view of morality and politics, just as authoritarian conservatism and liberal hostility to democratic norms seem to be reaching new heights of popularity and bizarreness, not only in Trump's America, but also in Turkey, Hungary, and Israel. Radical right-wing nationalistic parties are on the rise again throughout Europe, including Germany, Australia, Poland, Bulgaria, Greece, Macedonia, France, Switzerland, England, and the Netherlands. The only truly comparable resurgence of left-wing authoritarianism has been in Venezuela, although it is, of course, possible to cite other historical periods in which left-wing authoritarianism posed or might have posed a serious threat to liberal democracy. Right-wing authoritarianism constitutes a serious social problem in many countries, including arguably the United States. Okay. Liberals generally score higher than conservatives on measures of integrative complexity, cognitive reflection, need for cognition, and uncertainty tolerance, whereas conservatives score higher than liberals on measures of personal need for order and structure, cognitive closure, and tolerance of ambiguity, cognitive or perceptual rigidity, and dogmatism. Dogmatism is tendency to lay down principles as incontrollably true without consideration of evidence or the opinion of others. A study by Zimmergrad, I can't pronounce that, Renfro, and Robbins, 2018, demonstrated furthermore that conservatives perform worse than liberals on two objectives and entirely non-political tests of cognitive flexibility, the Wisconsin card sorting test and the remote associates test. By the way, I am reading only the highlighted areas, so if you're like, where you go in, just look for the highlighted areas. That's probably what I'm reading, because I'm only reading what I found interesting, because if I read this whole thing, it's going to be like 5 hours long. There is also a good deal of evidence that liberals perform better than conservatives on objective tests of cognitive ability and intelligence. Conservatives, on the other hand, appear to be more gullible and less interested in scientific ways of knowing. They also score higher than liberals on measures of self-deception. Social scientists are increasingly finding that conservatives are more likely than liberals to spread fake news, political misinformation, and conspiracy theories throughout their online social networks. I'm gonna read the yellow right here. In 7 of the 10 studies in which asymmetrical bias was observed, it was conservatives who exhibited a stronger bias than liberals. And B, one of the 3 studies that, according to Ditto and his colleagues, Ditto is the person, or one of the scientists that did the experiment on the biased, who was more biased, indicated that liberals showed a stronger bias than conservatives when interpreted in precisely the opposite manner by the original authors. And now, to the blue over here. I was like, yellow? No, I read that. A close inspection of the results of a recent study by Lashigi Roy and Aral 2018 reveals that 4 of the U.S. news opinion sources that contain the highest proportions of false statements, the Rush Limbaugh Show, Glenn Beck program, Fox News, and the Sean Hannity Show, were highly trusted by a strong majority. Basically saying conservatives trust more news outlets that are ranked really really low on how accurate they are at news. I said that really weirdly, but you get the gist. Conversely, the New York Times, which received the second highest score in terms of statement veracity, was highly trusted by 62% of consistent liberals, but only 3% of consistent conservatives. The Wall Street Journal received the highest overall score in terms of statement veracity. Despite its right-leaning orientation, it was slightly more trusted by consistent liberals, 35%, than by consistent conservatives, 30%. After discussing the important issues, we considered the broader implications of a normative analysis of judgment and decision-making to show that the bias examined in the studies reviewed by Ditto and his colleagues is not in fact a bias at all. That is, it is perfectly rational to evaluate new information on the basis of prior beliefs, as Lord Ross and Lippert 1976 pointed out in the quotation that we selected for our epigram. Most of the studies under review simply demonstrate um, the both sides are committed to their intentional beliefs, as they generally should be. It's really weird because I annotated this on my phone, so it's all like together, and now it's like 2 separate slides. So I'm like, wait, I have to like figure out where I am. Banning assault weapons would save the lives of many innocent people. Research participants were usually pre-selected or sorted according to their pre-existing beliefs, so that they would be roughly comparable in terms of belief, confidence, strength, and extremity. The specific proposition being judged or evaluated were selected by researchers so that distortion in both decry. Okay. Directions left and right was not only possible but also expected. Bias. The room for ideological distortion would be the same in both directions. Thus, as in the case of Lord et al., I don't know what that is, but it's a reference. 1979, the Cohen 2003 researchers set out to demonstrate the existence of symmetrical forms of bias, carefully constructing study material in such a way that nearly everyone on the left and right would be likely to evince the bias of interest. Presumably, this was accomplished through the careful collaboration of language that made the proposition, I was like, proposition, as worded, relatively natural between 2 fairly extreme but credible positions. Wow, conservatives, the one thing they say about you, you're entitled to your opinion, and extreme but credible positions. That's like the only two nice things I said about you so far. I mean, what, does this book have a bias too? It is easy to imagine that at a given time in history, one side has many more extremely rigid, indefensible beliefs than the other. In reality, however, it may very well be the case that one side holds far more true beliefs than the other. This possibility is quite simply not considered in these studies. In other words, any ideological system, asymmetrics in terms of quality or accuracy of information processing are likely to have taken place long before participants showed up for the experiment, and they are unlikely to come to light in the cause of the session itself because of discussions made by researchers. So I'm not going to read any more because we're running out of time, and I just want to talk about what that meant. What it's saying is when a lot of people do political like test and research, they don't take into consideration that one side may be right and the other may be wrong. They want to live in a world where both sides can be right, and that's not realistic. Realistically speaking, conservative or liberals have more true beliefs and better data to back up their beliefs than conservatives do. And yes, you can find information that supports both sides, but that doesn't mean the information there is completely true or completely accurate. And since, like this book stated, university PDF I got, conservatives are statistically more likely to spread false news, and they are more gullible. Not attacking conservatives, I'm just saying, statistically speaking, you got like everything against you. I'm sorry. You got like literally everything against you. Of course, that's not saying like conservatives can't be smart. There is such thing as like moderate conservatives and conservatives that aren't crazy. Not on crazy. That aren't extreme. Extreme and crazy. They get, you know. I'm crazy then because I'm an extreme leftist. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to educate people, or at least kind of like dip your toes into wanting knowledge, because a lot of people just say blank statements about each party without fully understanding what really is happening. There is studies, neuropolitics, how liberals and conservatives think differently. I believe this book, or my second book that I have, talks about how we think differently and how both of them are important, but one needs to be prioritized more. And so if you want to read this, if you're interested, I've highlighted things. I've got definitions of words I didn't know, so you might not know them. It's just a very interesting like experiment in how they go on doing it. And I kind of started highlighting like all the like trustworthy sites, like Stanford University. Like that's some like you got like good information. And then University of Canada, I mean, it's a university, so I still trust it more than I would like Fox News. And then there was the New York Times, which was up here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. If you're liberal and you have conservative family, now you can like copy and paste some of these like interesting facts. This is a generalized statement. It's not calling all conservatives gullible, but it's saying they're statistically more likely to be gullible and be easy to manipulate. Especially because, again, conservatives mainly run on fear mongering. So it's just interesting. I'll put the link in the description. You guys can take what you want from it. You guys can choose to read it, choose not to read it. Call me a liar. Call this PDF, or I turned it into a doc so I can highlight it. It's a PDF. It was a PDF. You can call it biased all you want. You could say the psychology New York University is like lying or something. I don't know. It's the Department of Physiology, University of Pennsylvania, and Department of something. I don't know. The rest is like, it's really weird put, but like the main part is what I've highlighted. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Bye.